There we go. It's Sunday morning. Hello, everybody. We're going to do a beginner's guide to gel printing for beginners and seasoned artists. I think I said beginners twice. Again. Okay. There we go.
Oh, well. Emphasis.
Hello, everybody. This is P over here.
Am over there.
Patricia.
Mariah.
And together,
we are PM Artist Studio. Oh, wow, 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 wow.
Wow, wow. See, she stands.
Am I?
There we go.
In the
You're good.
frame.
That was my bad. Alrighty, my arty friends, do say hello in the chat so we can say hello back. Otherwise, I do not know that you are here. We love to know that you are here. So I can at least, at the very least, give you a hello. See, like Jeanette's doing with that pinky hello hand. Woo!
And Maya.
Okay, I'm going to get to the list. We'll go down the list. But that's how you show up in the list. Because otherwise, like, I don't know how YouTube does it. Magic. Oh, I moved my mic away. I've been notified. Is
mine okay? I knocked it last night.
No, but I think yours is still in the zone.
Okay.
Mine was like way over.
Oh.
Hey, mic positioning matters. We're figuring out.
And it's really amazing.
It is amazing. Who knew that, you know. All right, you.
Am I too big?
She leans in and then she gets all huge and then I try to match her size in the thing so it doesn't seem weird. These are things that I obsess about, and I apologize to y'all for that, but this is how my poor little brain works. All right, we've got Apple, Art Curious, Barbara, Becky, Betty, Carrie, Cookie Wookie, that is Mo.
Hey, Mo!
Oh, Barbara Cabrera, I think, just popped in there. Or Brad. Hello, Brad. Okay, Darcy, Dana, Eddie, Elizabeth, Estella, Flora, Gerald, Griffinshell, Imelda, Jeanette, aka Janet, Jennifer. Jennifers are representing today. Joni Miron, Jolyn, Just Me, Laura, Lygia, Lydia, Marguerite, Mark Hines, Maya, Michelle, Monkey. Oh, our Michelles are representing. Paula, Penka, Rhonda, Rose Soto, Cillier, Silver Granny or Grumpy Gnome, that's Lynn, SWL, that is Sherry, Texture Junkies is in the house, and we've got a new person, Vale. I mean, that seems like, but it could be fancy. I don't know if it's like, you know, valet. We don't know where you're from. Let us know. I could just be like P and trying to make things fancy, and really it's just
valet.
Valet. We like to make things fancy.
Not voila.
But voila. No, that's
Flora.
Violet. That's, remember, that's Violet.
Do we have, is that Violet?
Violet is voila, remember?
Oh, yeah, Violet.
There's a long running joke about that. Anyway, if you want to know more about those things, they're over there on our website called PMism.
Oh, Maya, that's funny. She says, I'm so excited. Woke up at 4 a.m. to get everything ready. My roommate thinks I'm going to church. Oh, that's a good. So I promise you, it's as good as church. Well, I'll be very, very
informative and inspiring.
Informative, inspiring, and spiritual in my approach
to the gel printing. You can't ask for more than that, right?
Absolutely not.
Alrighty, my arty friends, let's get to it. Shall I just go topside right away?
Just go topside right off the bat.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to get to P's postcard today, but we did get. Well, we're all. No, you didn't do your 14 last night.
I didn't do 14 last night.
So I did. And I left all my stuff downstairs, including my glue, but it is getting closer to coming back upstairs. That's just how long things take in this house to, you know, make the round.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, let me go topside.
Topside.
Oh, I need to. Good God, I didn't. All right, hold on here. Hold on. We got to fix the camera. I moved it over there, but I didn't look at it, and then I got distracted by something else because that's just, again, how my brain works.
Oh, I'm opposite.
You are. There we go. Hold on.
Okay, she's fixing me.
I'm gonna fix her, and this is how the mic gets moved because, like, it's right at the thing.
It's grabbing you.
It is. There we go. Look at that. And I was excited because you left me like a little square thing to like square up too.
Well, I did that because I really wanted people to be able to focus on that and understand why I do this. Because I've only discovered this just recently.
Oh, new things, y'all. New things.
I mean, you know, it's just like one of those things. And there we go, 5 by 7. I wrote it down in case I didn't remember. Because I do have some weird sizes of plates, remember, that we cut out.
It is nice that you let the folks know, because I think every once in a while somebody will look at it and be like, what is that? Where is that?
You got to cut them up if you want that. Okay, I did find the back of the bib.
Okay, Maya says, please remember beginners means limited supplies.
And really, I'm going to try to stick to that, Maya, and emphasize that. But I did want to share this because I'm very dadgum proud of this. Remember, this was the belly band that went around the sketchbook when I got it. All I did was I covered it with a gel print.
Nice.
And then I made this little tab from some pieces that I found.
A holder flap.
Well, what it does is it keeps things from spilling out when you do this.
Yeah, or you hold it up and then you're like,
yeah. And remember, I did the back one. This one.
Oh,
before.
what's the name of this stencil? Which one? Sorry, Tank or who passed that?
Oh, the one that
Bartender's daughter. Hello, Bartender's daughter.
This.
That's one of the new disco
dot dash.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it goes in a. I love it. I've got it,
and there's multiple ones.
I've got it in multiple forms. I really do like it.
Yes,
but I like to keep this here for my.
The bricky one. In the circle, the brick one. She says.
Oh, the brick one that I had out here earlier.
Yeah, I think that's the one she's talking.
Well, all I did to this was just.
Oh, that's mosaic circles.
Yeah,
Also
I just cut off the sides.
And remember, a lot of these, and I think this is a good thing to kind of talk about real quick as you kind of get squared up there.
And then we're going to, let me get my stuff together again here and start.
So since we have taken away or, transitioned into the points program, there's no longer the member exclusives. And I think a lot of these, as we would make the PM designs, a lot of the ones that Brad designed, because he's the main PM designer, for PM. He designed those, but they are they were exclusive. All of that, nothing is exclusive anymore. So I think maybe some of them got overlooked because you're kind of like, oh, I'll look at it later or whatever. So
yeah, and there are many forms of this. I did this for flop offs purposes. And, I just cut it around the edge. I didn't take any special time like I do sometimes. I do take a lot of time.
This one was just a...
And I've got 3 stencils that I'm going to use today, but let's don't talk about that right now. We're just going to start off with our tips and tricks. Number 1, online resources. Avail yourselves of that extensively. I watched hours and hours of videos before I ever even got a gel plate. And I can't, and you may, take notes. Write down the people that you were especially impressed with, because I don't know about you, but my brain says, oh, I'll remember that. Nay. Write it down.
And I have tried to...
I even have write it down up here on my thing somewhere.
Or utilize your history.
Oh, well, you can do that too.
But she was terrible at that. She's like, I can't even remember where the history is.
Seriously. And I don't recognize it.
Right.
So write it down, make little notes on why you liked it, and what special things were there that you can go back to. Okay, that's the most important thing before you even get the gel plate out. Because that's going to stick in your memory. That's going to become part of what you start with, your initial start on the plate. Okay, number 2.
Joan says, write it down is the best advice.
It is, because your brain will then, yeah. Number 2, materials and supplies. Okay, a gel plate, obviously. We're going to be using extensively today the 5 by 7, simply because that is a really good size to get a handle on it. It works with your 4-inch brayer.
Was it the first one that you got, or did you start? You started with an 8x10, I'm pretty sure.
I did start with an 8x10, and I was very frustrated. And I think I could have saved myself a lot of frustration had I started with a 5x7.
I think, yeah.
I'm just telling you. It's easier to handle. You use less paint. And it's easily stored. I'll talk about storage later. The one thing I will stress, get a piece of plexiglass to put underneath. This, for beginners, this is really important because then you can flip it over and you can see what you're really going to get when you pull it off the paper.
I can remember when you first started, you said, one of my biggest frustrations is I don't know what's happening in there. Because it was, and then we started out with, because it was more about I need to move this to the side. We had those photo board things, but they were opaque. You couldn't see through the other side. She's like, what would be life-changing? And it was getting that clear acetate, or not, well, it can be acetate, but it's, plexiglass.
Yes.
Or I can't remember what the Australian version is. If one of our Australian friends can remind me what that name is.
Okay. All right. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about, simply because, where's my 7? Here it is. Everybody always wants to know about, well, how do you want to keep up with maintenance on your plate. That's important. And I'm going to stress that right now. And I left this dirty so that you could watch how you do it.
Okay. And I think that right before you say that, though, one of the little caveats there, because you're like, oh, well, but some people say, to let the grunge build up, this, that, and the other.
Certainly.
This is a key thing to understanding what is it that you want from your gel plate experience, your gel printing. What is your ultimate goal?
Yeah, because it's going to change. If you want to create collage papers, you're not going to be so concerned about that's, plates nice and clean. But I will tell you, even if you don't want a nice clean print, after a while, you will have to address or you're not going to be getting anything off.
Right. And for the longevity of your plate, if you do want it to last, it is good to condition it from time to time. I think it's also, it's one of those things with learning anything new is best practices are to kind of follow this guide as far as keeping up with the upkeep, because it will give you better results. And I think,
and especially if you do want a good clean print.
Yes.
This is packing tape. Do not use masking tape. That is a no.
Yes, that is correct.
Now I'm already on to page 2. I think we're moving quite along here.
Yeah. Don't worry, there's 7 pages of paint.
I have 12 in all. Okay, cleaning the plate continued. All right, so I have this stuff, and you can get fancy stuff. Different people use different things. This is what I like. It doesn't smell. It doesn't do anything.
Hi, Carly.
And I just slob some out there. There's no right amount.
Oh, okay.
Give it a good rub down.
We've got lots of new people. People that watch from, usually like in the background, but then they're coming out into the chat today.
Yay!
Well, welcome. And those of you that have come in, do give those thumbsy upsies. Let some other newbies know that this thing is happening.
These are just, I don't know what brand this is, but I really like it. It smells kind of cucumbery, but it's not offensive. And I'm going to show you here in a minute. I'm going to show you this cloth, and you're going to see.
Plant-based high tensile strength, baby wipes are the best kind because they don't leave back any, if they're flushable or anything like that, they are going to leave little fuzzy things onto your plate.
Yeah.
That's why these high,
and you are not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, so they're still.
All right, I didn't clean off my plexiglass because I really wanted you to see, what it looks like.
What'd you put on there, P?
What did I put on? Baby, mineral oil. Sorry. Yeah, keep me, and don't hesitate to ask questions because Mariah's going to really be on that, the chat major big time. Now, I can clean this up, but let me tell you why I don't. I will take eventually and take my scraper and scrape that off. But pulling that plate up every single time, you're going to be stressing it out.
Stretching
Stretching it out. You're going to be affecting the veracity of the surface.
Veracity.
So my recommendation is to do the least amount of pulling and stretching possible, and I think your plate is going to last a lot longer.
Okay,
That
great.
is an opinion.
A great lead-in question to what is your plate supposed to feel like now that you've got it all cleaned up? What is kind of this ideal surface?
Tacky. It should be tacky, not sticky. It shouldn't feel dry. And here's one that I've still got some paint on. It's very dry feeling because I know it has a layer of paint. Well, it has many layers of paint on there.
Okay.
And you will be able to tell after a while when it's time to do that. But until you do, just be aware of it. Just be aware. Okay, let me read over this. Okay, learn what to pull. Okay. All right, apply, massage, liberal, blah, 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 small amount mineral oil. And if you are going to store your plate, what I do is I go ahead and put a small amount of mineral oil, massage it in, and then I will put a clean piece of paper over the top of it, and I store it in.
And I think what I'm going to do with this is once we are done with the video and everything like that, I will go and I will type up all of P's notes. And then we're going to turn that into a downloadable, like, you know, ebook kind of thing. I'm not going to make it crazy expensive, but I am going to make it, you know, something that people pay for. And I'll do screenshots and things.
Okay, I think that we actually have this in our products.
I don't, because it kind of comes and goes, and they also jack up the prices. It's just kind of crazy. Like that was sort of a, you know, during COVID time that they did that.
Okay, you can see on here there's actually 1, 2, 3 different plates in there that you can do. And in this one I have my 5x7s. But the reason I
Dusty.
put paper down on both sides of this, I will just tell you, I can get it open, is because I was noticing that there was a buildup of stuff from the plate on here that was creating little divots in my plate. So clean pieces of paper, and these obviously
because the nice thing is what will happen is you have a well-conditioned plate. You've cleaned it with the tape. You have put the mineral oil on it liberally. And then you have put your nice pieces of paper on there. And then what that does is that if there are any little residual pieces of a paint or whatnot, it actually adheres to the paper.
And you'll
doesn't
pull it off.
Start to build up, because if
Good point.
what was happening, I think, with yours is that after a while she would keep putting the plate back in there, and then the paint just sticks to paint. Then the little divots become bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they also become harder to remove.
Yes,
Okay.
and they will leave a permanent
Okay.
pitting. to
How
your
do
plate.
you get the plate to the plexiglass without lots of bubbles?
Okay, well, that's tricky, and that's another reason I don't pull it up and down. You just have to work them out. If you brayer really, really hard, sometimes you can get them out. But sometimes you just have to take your finger and you just have to work it out to the edge.
Okay, so Celia, here's one of the things. So she asked, is it okay to put the acetate back onto the plate, you know, that it comes with? We also noticed that after a while, it kind of does that same thing with the buildup, because it adheres to the acetate a bit, and then can cause, and then the other thing with the acetate, because again, it locks in air, and depending on how
And
you're
it's squishy, it's not hard.
you're gonna get bubbles. Those bubbles will eventually come out. You can, like, you know, smush it and, you know, recondition it and, you know, get those bubbles out. But it is irritating, because if you're just all hot to trot to, you know, gel print, and then all of a sudden you've got a bubble, and that's gonna be there for a while until it gets worked back
And
out.
sometimes those little tiny bubbles really aren't a big deal. But if you have a big one out there, you will notice there's a lump.
Yeah.
There
And it
is
holds
a lump.
paint, or it doesn't get paint.
Yeah, one or the other. I have a plate that this happens to. I'm very aware of it, and I just have to do an extra brayering on that spot. Okay, the brayer. Obviously, a 4-inch brayer is going to be all you need for this particular. You don't need bigger. we'll talk about bigger when I get to another part of the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, someone wanted to know, do you clean your brayer off every single time? I clean it off when I need to. But what I do is I peel, after it gets built up enough here, I can peel this off. And I have a little tool here. It's a tool that you use
It's
for
the nail tool.
pushing back your cuticles and
I think I do actually have those in the shop because you were real.
but this is
gung-ho about
okay. It conforms to the surface of your and you can work it underneath and just gently pry it up. Now, you're going to have to let this build up quite a bit. But what I really want to caution you about is what happens on the ends here. Can you see that, Mariah? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, am I holding it in the right place?
I mean, if you want to go up a little bit further and then to
Tilt it just a little bit there. How's that?
to your brayer off area.
And
There you go.
you can see the buildup of paint there. That will create a little stalagmite thing
Just
there.
depends on how you're looking at it.
Yeah, if it's going this way, it's a stalactite.
Tight.
If it's this way, it's a mite. But it's going to do that also on the ends here, and it will start. You can see how it's building up right there. So basically, all I do. Oh, this is a good thing.
All right, Ingrid asks, after you put the mineral oil on the plate, do you take it off with a wipe before using it? That's really kind of up to you. I mean, if there is an excess,
Yes.
yes.
And see, that just popped off there.
But most likely, if you are storing it with the paper, it's going to soak into the paper. That's kind of one nice thing is it's sort of a give and a take, and it allows for, the paper makes it so there's not going to be as much of a bubble issue problem. In fact, I don't think so because it actually releases the air through the paper.
Now, when I do wipe this off, and you all have seen me do this, is when I use a lot of paint because I'm either using a stencil that's an old stencil and has lots of paint on it, so it's thick.
Yeah.
Or if I just really want a lot of paint out there because I'm going to do some kind of, maybe mark making or something. It will leave little, what do I want to say? Ripply marks like water on this. And then I make sure that I get that off over here so that I have a nice smooth brayer.
Yeah.
Also, you can just take the wet wipe and wipe it off if you want to.
Now, you can, yes, clean as you go. Carrie's a clean as you go kind of guy. He cleans his brayer, so that way you don't have that buildup. Now, if you're into paint skins, that's one way to get them is if you build it up and peel it off. Another thing that you can do, as Lygia mentioned in the chat, because our chatters are the best, because you guys are helping us out, and I love it.
It's wonderful, wonderful question.
Soak it off with Murphy's oil. It's just something that we don't, I mean,
I don't like the smell of it.
Here's the thing. If she's soaking something, it's about 6 months, okay? Let's just be honest.
Well, and I do use Murphy's oil if I've left a brush out. It will take paint out. It will soften up your brushes.
Yeah.
And I do leave it in there for quite a while. And I've showed you how I do that with my...
And it just turns into a goo that you can then clean off with paper towels and then like throw into the trash.
And remember, you can do the little trick here with the paintbrush.
Yeah.
So that it's not...
all the way in.
All the way in. You can suspend it on the side of your cup.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I saw somebody do that. I wished I could remember who because I thought it was bloody brilliant. Okay, here we are. Baron. All right. Do you absolutely need a Baron? No, you do not. But the reason I use them is there's two reasons. The first one is because I develop an allergy on my fingers to the paper. I think it's probably the sizing in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you?
That
I don't know.
makes sense.
It's something in there, but I mean, my fingers will be raw. If you have any kind of sensitivity to anything, I highly recommend this. The other thing is you get a nice even, and to begin with, it's easy to forget a part of that you don't. This makes you
right. It makes
cover
it more
the whole thing.
systematic.
It is, and we happen to know somebody that makes these, and they're absolutely. I got the little one out today, which I use with my small plates, but it also takes up less real estate on my thing here, so I can, have everything out here today.
Jennifer, usually what we do is we try to filter it out as much as possible. So she's asking, like, how do you dispose of, like, the Murphy's, like, all the goo and everything. So it's really bad to, like, throw it into a trash bin that you've had a lot of, you know, paper towels or this or that, or you kind of make a filtering system type thing, but it needs to go into the trash. Do not pour that down your sink. You will be very...
Yeah.
And in some states, it's actually, you know, against the law.
Yeah.
So
I just try to be as cognizant of that, and I know it's probably going in a landfill, but yeah, I guess just be responsible about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have
Oh, Texture Junkies puts hers. I guess she, like, kind of clears it off the oil. She keeps using it, and then just pulls out the goo.
Oh,
That's brilliant, Texture Junkies.
well, I didn't.
That's Sharon. Hey, Sharon.
I didn't know that. Do we have Anthony Cody's?
Yes, and Mo put that into the chat. I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And so, if you want a beautiful handmade Baron, Anthony
And you
Cody's-
can tell him your specifications. This is made for my hand.
Yeah.
Because I have a broad palm and
I
short
noticed
fingers.
you started using that other one. You're claiming it. All that.
Okay, moving right along. This is 1A. Workspace preparation. Well, I want you to look at this marvelous workspace. Now, don't look at this stuff behind me,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not my workspace. It used to be.
Adventures.
Now it's just kind of a storage area.
Yeah.
Mariah has promised me she's going to block out a part of her time in the future and help me address this, because I just get...
She's overwhelmed.
I get overwhelmed, and I get in a rut, and I start looking at stuff, and I'm squirreled, and I'm gone, and I know. I just put things back in the same place because I don't know what to do.
But I got to get her to this point. Otherwise, we just fight about what stays and what goes.
Yes.
She's got to get to the point of just let it go.
And here, I think it coincides very nicely, because I should be really totally committed about the time we hit 10,000.
Okay, well, we're going to get to paint here in just a little bit. So Maria,
yeah.
thank you for asking. And if y'all kind of remind me, actually, I'm going to just copy and paste that so that way I have it off to the side here and just remind me to.
Okay, let me just talk about the organization here. I have paint here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tiered things that hold paint, hold brushes, hold pins, that kind of thing. And in different forms. And they stay in the same place. I don't put them in different places, okay?
Right.
Over here, I have my stencils, and I know that you can't really see that, but you can see where my arm is. Stencils, and I have shelving for all of my plates that are on pieces of plexiglass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really important to have that stuff where you need it and you know where it is, because sometimes time, well, all the time, time is of essence. It can make or break your print.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be searching around for something while the paint's drying, because dry paint on your
and I think it's one of the easiest things to kind of forget or overlook or just, not take into consideration is your paint is drying. Paint is drying, no matter what.
You put it on, unless it's open.
But it's still
We'll talk about
drying.
that
It's
later.
just going to be, you have more time.
Okay, now the other thing here is this underneath here. This is butcher paper.
Yeah.
And it comes in a roll. One size has a slight acetate, I don't know, vinyl film to it. The other is just plain. And you can actually clean up.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this.
And hello, Christy and Nadine.
Lasts
Hello,
a long
everybody.
time. Lasts a long time.
Long time.
Long time. All right. Yes. And it's smooth, so it doesn't create texture, unwanted texture.
Yeah.
Okay, paper choices. Something that's important. Somebody's always asking about that. I can just tell you right now that this is an old print I pulled out because we're going to print over it. I don't really know what paper this is, but
Here.
I know, number one, it's not white.
It's the Paycon.
Is it?
It's the Paycom print paper.
And I love that paper. I
Mhm.
don't have that written down here, but I do like it.
It used to be one that we highly recommended. It's just we kind of got away from it because it was one of those things, like, it's obviously easier to buy things in bulk, and the main one that P uses, and actually we use it for all sorts of things because it's even like the laser prints and all that, because it's just such a wonderful paper, is the Hammer Mill 32-pound
Yes, and that's
premium printing.
That's I wrote that down. It's a 32-pound paper, and I use it for everything. It's on my Brayer offs here, but the Brayer offs, I don't feel bad about that. They end up as prints.
Well, no, you recently, fairly recently switched. You're like, hey, these Brayer offs are really good, so I'm gonna stop using kind of crappy paper, because
I would utilize them for prints. I have a whole stack of them back here. Okay, that I'm going to use, and I use them mainly when I get ready to put the packets together.
Yes, because
they already have something on them. Okay, and I should say that Debsy is creating a database on papers and the qualities of each paper. I don't know if she's putting in a price component.
No, I would not recommend. Even if you were considering that
changes.
It changes, and maybe something like, it's usually like, this is a higher end. This is a, but not specific,
because then you'll be all upset when you go and try it out. Okay.
Right.
Carnival wet strength tissue. Absolutely, you must have that. And as a beginner, the reason I say that is because those papers, you'll see how I use it as a pull-off.
And yes, it
clean up.
And it does seem pricey, but please keep in mind that the sheets are large. And if you start thinking about, okay, well, I'm doing 5x7s, if you're cutting your sheets down to that, what are you getting out of that? Even if you just buy the 10, I think it comes in 10 sheets. There's like 3 different quantities. We buy like the 480 or whatever.
Big box.
But it
lasts cut it down
a lot longer than you think. And then, cutting it down really does, yeah.
Okay, the next one that I really like is the Jack Richardson. And I don't have any of that cut up, do I?
Becky says, a tip for the Brayer off papers: if you forget to put down your new paper, like Josh did at first, put a stack of paper on a clipboard, then just remove one sheet at a time when it is used.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Thank you, Becky.
This is, and you can tell the difference between this, and I'll flop it around the copy paper.
Kathy stores her big box of Carnival tissue under her bed.
Oh, well, there you go.
It does. It comes in a big flat box.
It does, and I think it's downstairs. And we do also have some big Hammer Mill.
We do.
Which I need to cut up into at least 14 by...
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the Jack Richardson is just a little more... It has a little more, what do I want to say? Weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
It has tooth, because it is a printmaking. That's what it's made for.
Mm-hmm.
Printmaking paper. I love it. And if I'm going to pull a print that I think is really wonderful.
Yeah, these are for the special, like, you've built up multiple layers. You've really done a
long haul. Yeah,
you've spent some time.
Yes.
And it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. Use that.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about that. Napkins, dental bibs, all that, everything out there, if you can put it on the plate. I don't recommend napkins on your gel plate. They're probably going to come off in little pieces. That's more or less something that you do something else with. The black tissue paper, you can gel plate with it. It's kind of finicky, and I wouldn't suggest starting with that.
Mm-hmm.
Make that later on. Okay, do work at just gel plating until you feel confident enough to, in your knowledge base, to move on to more experimental areas. Do be consistent. Take note of your results. Okay, creating texture stencils, yada, yada, yada. Combining techniques. We're going to do some of that as we get into our big one, paint. So I talk about that a little bit right here, but mainly we're going to address it in this arena right here.
And as you discussed that, there was a question regarding opacity.
Oh, I'm going to deal with that.
Okay, because Maria asked,
And I will show that.
right, does the Liquitex transparent mixing white acrylic make opaque transparent? And I would probably say no to that, but we can get into that deeper.
Yes, we will. All right, I'm going to bring in a piece of paper here, and I'm going to show you how easy this is. And this is part of my notes here. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can't really see that, can you? Put my plate aside for a minute on my shelf back here. This is how this appears in my notes. Okay? You start off, and the way I would do it with I did this with first graders. I would say, hold your hand like this.
Are y'all holding your hands like that?
You're making a triangle. Where's the tip of the triangle? That's where the yellow goes. Okay? The red is going to be on your left side. The blue is going to be on your right. And if you're consistent with that, it's going to be something that you can do just this fast. Now, you don't have to do this, but if you want to be able to mix paints like a champ, you need to know how to use a color wheel. That's the only way to do it.
And it doesn't have, it's like you aren't getting in deep into color theory. This is just a very basic, like she said, she just taught
This is a tool.
Yeah, first and second graders.
Yeah. And I mean, I had first and second graders that could mix neutrals like you can't believe. So then to do the secondary colors, this is the primary, this is the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
What's always at the bottom? Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to remember that, because then all you have to do is you have to go red and blue makes violet. Red and yellow makes orange. Yellow and blue makes green. And so here we have green, violet, and orange. When you put them all together, you have a 6-pointed star with your primary colors and your secondary colors.
And if you want to download this, just as Mo has mentioned in the chat, there is the link. We have this as a freebie. Now, this book, I'm going to probably bring in that information again, or even take, just so it flows nicely, I will just take screenshots of like...
And I really tried to make this so that it was a very logical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because these are things that we talk about quite often.
They
It's just
are.
we, again, I think it's going to be sort of a yearly thing that we revisit these things, because not only do we change and alter and understand things differently and how to possibly, convey, hey, here's some additional tips and tricks and some understanding.
Because I do find out things all the time. It's like this piece of paper down here on the old, worn out Cricut mats. I mean, I just started doing that recently, and it's made a lot of difference.
Oh, Suzanne, we're going to make it into a little ebook, and it'll be available on our website, and I'll let y'all know whenever I have it ready. It's just going to take a little bit, because I'm going to take screenshots from this stream, put it together, and then have all of this written and, more book-like.
Okay. Now, the other day, somebody said, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you made, and I saved that out, so I'm going to show you.
Hey, one of your former students is here in the chat, Christy Meese, who said, my art teacher, P, really taught this to us. I have the color wheel embedded in my brain. That's my best friend. And yes, she did have, we both
All right. Thank you, Christy. I wish I could get some of the others of them. They've told me that before, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this out, because this you actually saw me do. This is where I mixed the, and see, I can whip you out a color wheel.
She loves to whip out a color
I
wheel.
love to whip out a color wheel. All right, there's my color wheel right there. All right, how did I know to use this? Well, it's just because, remember, our colors that we were using for this were the violet, yellowish green, which we kind of fought about that a bit, and gray. So I thought it would be cool to go ahead and use one of these colors. I could have used green, because if I used green, then in order to make the neutral using green, I would have added red to it. If I went with the blue, I would have used orange.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can do this. The thing is, always start with your lightest color and add tiny bits, because remember, here I started. This was my initial mix of the violet and the yellow. And so then I added a little bit more violet, added a little bit more violet. And then this one was, I added a little bit more yellow because I thought it was getting too bluish. Down here, because this is red, turning red, I added a bit of green. And I think it was the same green as I used in the print here. Then we started adding white, a little bit at a time, until we reached that wonderful stage of being here, which is totally beautiful gray. And then this is a flop off behind it here. It was handy, so I did it, and I have some more flop offs here. And I did use up all of the,
Of your gray.
of my gray. I have them back over here, which I don't know that we'll get to that today. And there's my little pointer. I just love my chopstick. Okay.
And it is, people are saying in the chat they love it when you're in teacher mode.
Do they love me in teacher mode? Oh, thank you. It really at this point it's one of my loves, my passions. Okay, how did I get the light green as opposed to the dark green? Well, here's your little clue. See that white right there?
Mm-hmm.
That was what was stamped down. And remember, I had my little oh, dadgummit.
She had her stencil taped up so she could just isolate that and then move it around.
Yeah, here it is.
Here it is.
Here it is. Whoa, I pulled it out.
You've done some different colors since then.
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact. Well, I'll turn it over. No, it's okay. All right, you can see the white around the edge here because this is the little guy I'm using.
Also note that the, crap tape is now sticking down so much better.
Yes, because
a layer of paint or two.
Yeah, see, it's not so much on this side because I need to use this side. So
yeah,
because it's kind of getting poopy over here. I'll have to.
And then we promised her a new one.
Yeah, so I can use the whole stencil.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've got these little jobbers. This is what it looks like whole. Because I knew from experience, once I put the gray over this, my green was going to be all the same unless I did something to make it a little bit different and capture that sort of yellow-green.
Here's the $1 million question, P.
Yeah.
Jennifer M. asks, why wouldn't you have just started with black and add white?
You can do that, but it's not a very interesting gray.
Yeah.
It really is not. It doesn't have the depth and oomph of that. And let me bring this back and show you what I'm talking about. Because even though you don't see it here, part of your brain is recognizing the fact that this gray
comes from some of those colors that are already there.
There's a relationship established there. It's a much richer gray than if I just put together. Here, let me just...
And that's actually even true of all, this is one of the reasons that P likes to mix her colors onto, when she's gel printing, mixing the colors on the plate. You will have more interest. Those little bits of gradation that are happening when you do mix it onto the plate versus mixing a color. This is going to be the color. This is the color. It's throughout, that sort of thing. There is more interest and depth when you mix colors in this way.
Yes. Why am I not finding black? There it is. Okay. All right. So here we have Mars Black. Said to start with the lightest color, and here I'm just squeezing out the black. And the other, this is really good because...
Oh, that's a good point too. Carrie says not all blacks are going to make a true gray.
They aren't, because remember the bone black is more brown.
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing this, use the side of your, don't poke your point down. This one's not so pointy.
Don't stab the plate.
Yeah. I'm trying to get this the same value range, but it isn't going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and do that.
Yeah.
For blessed ever.
Just kind of put it next to the lightest one there, and point made. That it's different.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, this is gray. But this gray goes with all the other colors on there because it has a relationship, physically has a relationship to
yeah, I think, you know, this is why I don't know if you guys ever see these commercials or anything, but like Culture Hustle has like the truest black. We have like the True Black 2.0 because all blacks are created through other colors. So there is going to be something that pushes through in each one of those. And so you might as well just kind of say, all right, well, I know which gray or which direction I want to go with versus kind of, you know, having to deal with that unknown factor of what the base of that gray or the black is.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's like I said, bone black is going to give you a whole different I can't waste this paint, and I know I'm getting out of sequence here, but
hey, and if we need to go over a little, that's fine, because I think this is an important, you know.
I think it is, and you can see it's really important to, because I can see some little bit. There's a lot of paint out there. Probably didn't need that much paint, but that's what I had. I'm brayering it off over here, so I'm not losing it. I'm going to go ahead and put this down because I think this is kind of funny. This looks like cement. And I've got this print from God knows when. Oh, and I should, well, that's going to be kind of hard. I'm just going to have to eyeball it and try to get it on.
Yeah, you did good.
Did I do good? Okay. What's wonderful about these barons that Anthony makes, I'm getting that down, and then I'm going to turn this over. See that kind of a little bit rounded there? That's really great for using to get down into the creaks and crevices of your, especially if you're printing over a print that already has paint on it. Yeah, it's not going to be as pliable. It's not going to suck the paint up. It's going to just be on the surface there. Now, this is what I call the Fran move. You hold it down over here and you look at it and you go, oh, look at that. Well, I got a little carried away down there, but that's okay. And I'm going to check this in. Oh, yeah. And looky there. Okay, so this is the ghost print.
You had a lot of paint out there.
I have a lot of paint there. This is where you can come in with your tissue paper.
Hey, Kat, that is a really good way to think about it. She's like, now I know why so many blacks or blues in my closet don't match. Yeah, there's no one true thing. And a lot of dye, like black dye, it leans purple.
Yes, and I know when I was doing, I learned this doing sumi painting, that the really expensive black ink sticks had more of a blue cast to them. So I don't know what pigment was put into them.
And the cheap ones had red.
cheap ones would be brown.
Oh, brown.
Yeah. Okay, now this is not, but you're going to get prints like this.
Oh,
and then you're going to get something that's left on here. And this is where I'm going to leave these out here and let them dry properly, so that I can get back to this. And we'll get back to this also. I'm letting that dry completely because I want to pull it off with a special body paint. All right, does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Those of you who watched this process on in order to get this, and this is on the Jack Richardson.
Yeah.
I thought this would make such a lovely cover.
Yeah.
You know, where you could, actually put lettering or something over the top of it.
Well, or I have a little suggestion, but really quickly, Carrie says in the chat, which it's really sweet. Thank you. Beginners, I would suggest you hit the save button below, so that way you don't have to search for this valuable lesson months down the line. And then My Crafty Adventure, she says, Carrie, good idea, I'm lost. And yes, this is a ton of information. We are giving you, like, this is a lot. So it would be best maybe to come back, or, you know, this would be one to kind of hit back at different times. And that's also why we wanted to create it into a book as well. And
so that you'd have multiple and different sensory exposures, because I like to be able to hear something, but I like to be able to also read it.
And this information will change as you grow in your gel printing experience, or any experience. The paint part of this, and that's why there's, you know, multiple pages on the whole paint thing, is because that is really the one big factor that has so many, that can change and alter things so dramatically.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's get back to the paint business here, because I really do want to talk about this. I do incidentally, but I like that it's all in one thing here. So we just talked about complementary colors and mixing our neutrals, and it's so much fun. My little kids, I mean, they didn't ever, some would go the entire, and I didn't stop them. I just let them go. They spent the entire class period mixing neutrals and doing little swatches. Yeah. They never painted anything. But the next time they came in, they got their swatches out. And I mean, these little itty bitty kids would get out their folder, get out their paper, and mix up those neutrals like a champ, and paint something.
It probably really, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like, if you don't feel artistic, but yet it's such a cool, like, you know, cooking kind of thing. It's a, you know, you got the ingredients, and so you're expressing yourself in a different way. It isn't in that, you know, traditional thought of, I'm not, you know, drawing or doing this, but it's still very creative.
It is very creative, and I mean, it's exciting when you see colors change when you add a little bit of something. But this is a good plan. If you don't have this plan, then it's just kind of willy-nilly, and you don't really remember what you did. But if you have something like this written down, you can go, oh my gosh, that yellow and violet made the most wonderful gray with just a tinge of lilac to it. Or when you mix orange and blue, you get the most lovely browns. I'm not kidding you. I always do that. When I want a really great, almost black, green and red is my choice. And you will hear me talk about that a lot.
Hi, and if y'all want this in a sticker form, you can always, you know.
Do we have
that? Was a little shameless promotion.
Oh, it was. That was absolutely
our swag.
Okay, so
our swag is informative.
I hear people talk about this, and usually it's in relationship to watercolor. They say, you know, I love watercolors, but I sort of I end up with mud every single time. I wished I had a nickel for every time somebody sold me that. All right, one of the ways that you avoid that, and avoid it on your gel plate also, if you put these colors on and they're dry and they're next to each other, that's one thing. But when you're mixing them together on your plate, the best way to do it and have success is if you choose your cool color range colors or your warm color range colors, because these play well together. These play well together. Now, you can go up here and go this way. You can go with a cool color and a warm color. Yeah, that's going to work. But when you start going around here and you pull in that red with that green, what's going to happen?
You start crisscrossing.
Yep.
That's called complementary colors. Complementary colors equal browns, grays, and, you know, mud.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another term, and you will hear people use this. I don't think you have to know this, but analogous colors just means colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. But in order to understand that term, you need to have a working knowledge of the color wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the deeper dive.
This is the little, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, intermediate colors, they're also called, I think, there's another word for it, but I don't like it.
Tertiary? No.
Well, tertiary, I think, would be out here, where you're mixing yellow, green, and green. Yeah, that's one more step.
But there's another.
You don't need to do that. Just remember, and I like the Intermediate because it's like middle, mediate, middle.
Yeah.
It's in between your primary color and your secondary color. And I use that little shape there. I use the different shapes because I think that also helps. It helped my students understand. When there's a circle around it, what do I know immediately? Boom.
Yeah.
Primary. If there's a square around it, boom, immediately. It's a secondary color. And then when we get down to our intermediate colors, which is a little slice of pie, and it's kind of, it's wiggling in there between the yellow and the green, right? I mean, I think that's brilliant.
And Carrie says that's his secret. It's not so secret right now, but to creating good-looking prints, he focuses on a family of colors. Then, when the background is complete, he uses the opposite family colors for focal points and contrast. So, see,
And
that's really
accents,
smart.
yes.
And then by letting those different points, letting things dry, then you're not mixing.
Yeah, and getting swamp colors.
Oh, Abby's been on the internet. Triadic.
We're getting to that. We're getting to triadic. I call them split complementary.
Yeah, and analogous.
Analogous and triadic. Okay. Triadic just means 3. So if you'd used all 3 primaries, you'd have a triadic.
There you go.
If you used all 3 secondaries, that's a triadic. Now there's others. Okay, so here's when you get a little bit more into it. Your intermediate colors and a split complementary. So what does that mean? If we have a yellow-green, a blue-green, and a violet, why is that going to be complementary? Well, 2 things here. You've got your green, but your violet has what in it? What 2 colors make violet?
Red and blue.
Red and blue. So you're going to have some red in there. So if you mix those, they're going to neutralize. But if you keep them separate, you have that vibrancy.
Yeah.
And that sort of excitement of those colors. And blue, red violet, and red orange. That's a good combination as long as you keep them separate and not mixed. Orange, yellow, and green. Yellow orange, yellow green, and blue green. Now, do you see what's happening here? I'm skipping yellow, green, and blue. That would be a split complementary. If I started over here, yellow, orange, skip the yellow, yellow, green, and blue, green.
I think we need to do a whole, like, one of these days, we'll pull this whole thing out and really just, because you can spend a lot of time on that.
Just this.
Right.
By itself, okay? But I can't stress how important that is to your success. The most important thing here to your success on the gel plate isn't the gel plate. It's how you apply color.
Yeah, and that's through
the trick.
paint. And so therefore,
Paint.
understanding the colors in your paints. Very important.
Viscosity refers to the consistency of the paint, and different viscosities will produce different results. They act in different ways on the gel plate, and getting familiar with the properties of each type will enable you to make more effective decisions concerning outcome. Okay? Heavy body usually comes in a tube, or you saw me bring out my jar.
Tub. That thing actually came in a huge tub.
Yeah, and I this is one of mine.
It wasn't real easy to
Facial
grab, so
creams.
she put it in a smaller tub.
I did. It didn't come in that one.
No.
Heavy bodies. And if you want to have a stencil effect and you want your paint to stay where you want it, heavy body's a good way to go.
Yes.
Soft body. Well, the soft bodies are in between the fluid and the heavy bodies. They're slightly squishy, is all I can say. And a lot of them don't even. Liquitex, I think, is the only one I know that makes
calls it soft body.
Soft body. And it really is very indicative of what happens when you squeeze it out.
Well, and a lot of these types of paints, I would call these like a soft body, like as far as
the color change paints. They're in between heavy body and
yeah, and even like your deco arts, your craft paints, they're gonna be, because they're not heavy, but they're not fluid.
They're not fluid. And the only one the fluid that I use and love is, of course, golden.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes in the little squeeze bottle top or the flip top. And you can hear it. Hear that?
Some of them have balls.
Some of them do, because they have things in the bottom. I have itchy eyes
Shaking about.
Okay. Golden Brand Paint has a very comprehensive guide to all paint, and I would if you are interested in this, that paint guide. Do we have a listing of that in our the Golden Paint Guide?
Well, if you go over to Golden's website, I mean, we've dropped it in before, but if you really want to get super nerdy about paint, Golden's website is a resource that will fulfill all of your arty painting needs.
Absolutely, and probably more than some that you'll ever need.
Because they go into so much detail. Yeah. They have put so much wonderful information out there. I mean, it gives me goosebumps thinking about, like, just because I understand the work that goes into that, and that they don't have to provide that level of information.
And they also provide you with a swatch.
And they are not paying us.
No, they're really not.
We just believe that. Although if they would like to, sponsor us in any which way, that would be super.
And it's a small company and the paint's made in the United States. It's not.
Yeah, overall, I mean, it is a big company, but it is kind of a small company in a lot of ways.
It really, and they act like a small company because all of their swatches are made by hand by somebody that sits there and makes them.
Here, I have one of those just so people kind of understand what the heck we're talking about.
All right, so if you are just beginning, do you need to invest in golden paints? My answer is, how serious are you? You don't have to, but I highly recommend.
Okay, here's how I would approach this. If you are truly a new beginner and all you ever have done is paper craft and you don't own really any paints, maybe one or two, then what you should do is invest in some small set.
Yes.
Of at least anywhere from 12 colors. 12 colors.
And these come, I would say, either this or the tubes.
Yeah, and it doesn't really necessarily matter the brand. Shop based upon your price point and what you are, interested in, and are there colors in there that you go, ooh, I'm interested in those.
The tubes, and then I just pulled this out. This happens to be Amsterdam. They have a whole set of these, and I don't know how many colors that we actually got.
Well, I got I think that I ended up getting the 36 one or whatever. That's probably more than you would ever need, but you might like that, especially if you aren't comfortable in understanding the mixing of colors quite yet, but you still want to play with a lot of colors. That's the way to go. If you want to take a deeper dive into understanding color, buy the smaller set and learn how to mix the colors.
Or you can buy a big tube of red, yellow, and blue.
In fact, actually, I think they even sell those as a larger, a set of larger tubes in those basic colors. Because what I'll do is I'll give you the primary colors and then usually a black and a white.
And you can mix most everything that you are going to need. So I just say I love my golden paints. There isn't anything like them. The Amsterdam is almost there, but golden is.
And Paula says she mentioned, did anyone see the golden app for paint mixing? So that might be another really great resource. So you don't have to really, put a ton of thought into it. I'm sure that as all of the information that they put out, it is probably quite wonderful. I've not seen it, but I'm gonna check it out. Might be fun to play with.
I will say these little jobbers down here, I wouldn't pay the extra money for those. I would just go ahead and get these.
Yeah, we like those. Or the US Art Supply ones, because they have they have a set that is similar.
But they're heavy body. And these are more, I would say, soft body.
Soft body. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have some of these specialties just because we bought some, somebody gifted us some, and then they sent some in there
in the big paints. And then keep in mind, so we're going to be giving away a bunch of paint at our 10,000 giveaway. The only thing is that when you do enter, please keep in mind that you will be responsible for shipping. I just like to say that because anybody that's coming and going, I just say it whenever we talk about the 10,000 giveaway. We're not there yet.
Not yet. Not quite. Okay.
What?
So paint continued. This is page 8. Using the color wheel as a guide, mixing paint and coming up with an agreeable color is now much easier and predictable. I can't say that enough. You can do anything you want to once you understand the color wheel. If you don't, it's just willy-nilly happenstance, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. You learn how to use the color wheel, it can become predictable, and it can be control.
All right, Maya says, what makes them heavy body or soft body? That is,
The viscosity.
are they more liquidy or are they going to kind of be firm and hold their form?
Do they stay put when
Yes,
you put them
kinda.
on the plate?
Yeah.
Or do they spread out?
And that's really up to you, Maya. And then you kind of have to figure out, all right, what is it that I want to achieve? And like P mentioned earlier, with the stencils, and especially I think for a beginner, those heavier body paints are going to give you more success because then you aren't having to think about or deal with, ooh, this is liquidy. What am I doing? It's seeping under. And then you're going to feel like, oh, what did I do wrong? Where it really wasn't what you did wrong. It was simply that a more liquid paint is going to seep under your stencil and create those things that blobbing out.
Okay.
Or if you use too much paint.
Yeah.
That can That's what happened over there.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
a lot.
I just didn't want to waste any.
Right.
And I knew I needed to either get it down and use it or it was going to be tossed.
Yeah.
All right. So here is, and this was mentioned earlier, or questions asked about it. There is one other very important aspect of mixing paint, and that is the opacity factor.
Mm-hmm.
Is the paint transparent? The color behind or below is apparent or visible? Or is the color covering up the one below it? These questions need to be addressed, especially if you are layering your prints. So what happened here when I put the gray over the top of the pink? You can't see any of the pink below.
That is a good point. Devin says that she finds Liquitex Basics are a nice consistency for beginners and a good price point. That is true.
Okay, there
That is
you
really
go,
true.
Liquitex. And back to this here. If I had wanted the pink to show through here, I wouldn't have put white in. Anytime you add white to your color mix, you are opacifying it. You are making it opaque. And it's not going to work if you want to see that underneath layer.
And so, Maria, this kind of goes into what you were asking earlier. Now, I know you were saying the Liquitex white transparent. Remember that? The white transparent.
Oh, but it really wasn't.
And the tricky thing is that if your paint is opaque and you want to make it more transparent, please keep in mind, you are not going to turn an opaque paint into what you get like with a golden fluid transparent paint. That is not going to happen. Don't ever think that, whatever you mix in that's going to be the ultimate, what you're going to have happen just because of what's already in the paint.
Yes, you can add other mediums to loosen it up and make it slightly more transparent, but you're never going to get that back once you add the white.
Yeah.
So add white very judiciously.
Yes. And also keep in mind those other mediums that you're adding because they all have little different factors to them that are going to not only alter its opacity, but its what is it? How shiny it is, whether it goes, matte or gloss, or, how transparent you're going to get.
Okay, so here, and you can have transparency and opacity occur in all three different varieties of the viscosity. So the reason I did this and put the white flower underneath here was because I wanted some contrast between. And you can see, or if you can imagine, if the white was not behind there, this would all be the same color of green. And it is slightly transparent. Now, the purple,
Opaque.
opaque. We know that our gray was opaque, right? but it's what made the white shine here, because there was enough value difference between the gray and the white, so that the white punched up the green here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see it's kind of interesting, because here where the overlapped more or less.
Right.
Do you see that? That creates almost a dark gray.
Yeah.
And that's just another added value to, you know, what's going on here. But you learn that over time. Okay. Layering can occur on the plate. Okay. We've got one back there, and I've got another one here. We'll go ahead and do something with this, and I'll show you, because this is now is opaque.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to try to do is we want to try to bring in another of our stencils here, just for a little bit of variety. And I just picked this one because it was on top. There was no special reason.
Not because it's yours, Eddie.
Yeah. So we're going to use this one and do something here. I'm going to move this over to the side. And let me see. Each layer needs to be dry. Okay.
Yes, Joan. I am going to make all of this into an ebook. I will type it up. It will all be, you know, maybe in a nice font, larger size font, because I'm going to make it into an ebook that you can purchase through our website.
Okay, so I have some stuff down here, and remember we talked about, you know, do I want to keep my plate clean? You don't have to keep it absolutely clean. It needs to be as clean as you want it. But what I'm going to do here, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to put my stencil down, and you can see it's been used, so it doesn't really matter what side I use. When I do first start out with a brand new virgin stencil, I make sure that I check it. I don't know if I have one that I haven't, because that's important too.
She's trying to get paint on her stencils right away these days, because she knows I'm going to take them away from her. So
yeah,
finding one is going to be...
This is good. Okay, I love this one. I've been using this in the big version. This is a great one.
So this is the Circle Pop by Devin.
Okay, so you will notice when you pick your stencil up, there's a bit of an edge on the back side. That's the side you want to put down, because it's going to hug. It's like a little bit like this. It's hugging that plate. And one of the reasons that I do that is because I really believe there's a difference in the way, because this side is convex. The back side is concave. And it does make a difference. I didn't notice this for a long time. All right, now we need to decide, what are we going to do here? We know that this is opaque, so we don't have to really worry about that. It doesn't matter. But do we want to put something over the top of it? And what we can do here, love this plexiglass. Watch this. I know that's going to stick because I've already stuck it down. What's that going to look like? Isn't that that's going to be kind of neat.
Well, you have to sort of think about it. Or are you going to leave the lines back on? You're going to pull the in between and leave the lines back. So you need to pull your stencil back up so you hold the line.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And then that's a good point. And I can put this down and really, once I pull my stencil on, okay? And that's going to be part of it. All right. So what do we want to do here? Do we want something? Are
you going transparent, or are you going?
I'm going opaque.
Okay, I like that whole idea. That I like
because
the gray
I like
and
these two colors together very much. I like these colors together.
Yeah.
All right. How do I know that? Do you see this little bitty? And I have bigger ones that show that. And let me just grab
that it's
one.
Filled in.
Okay, it's filled in. This one is half and half. But the reason I would have to grab one that I haven't even swatched here.
Hey, I have more swatch stickers on order, by the way.
Okay, so here we are. This is half and half, but I go ahead and swatch this out simply because I want to know. I don't always trust what they say down here.
Well, and it really depends on, you know, how thick you're applying a layer. So that's important to know. So when you're swatching something, kind of try to do it thicker at the top or side, or, you know, you want to go across all the bars and then kind of smush it out.
You can smush it out and make it more transparent by layering, by brayering off a lot more of the paint. Okay. I didn't know that for a long time. I didn't understand what that meant. And I can't even really remember when it was that I learned that.
And then it's tricky sometimes on the darker paints that the packaging, it's harder to see that very quickly. So again, a nice reason to swatch your paints.
I'm going to have to get more toilet paper rolls here because my one paint is falling out.
I'm sure you have some.
I do.
Okay.
I wished I could show you my...
That's a whole other... Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got our stencil down. We know it's down there. And
okay, so you're not holding the lines.
Sure I am.
No. Well, okay. I'll tell you what I mean here in just a second. Because this is all about that layering business.
It's all about the layering. And you need to be real careful when you pull these little jobbers up.
Especially when they're brand new.
Especially when they're brand new. I'm going to see if I can get a flop off. I don't know that I can. And get this
pull
down.
Yeah. Oh, she's just playing with fire right now. Okay, flop that down. Now pull your stencil up before it sticks down to your brayer off.
Thank you.
If it hasn't already. Okay, good deal.
It hasn't. Look.
Okay, so this is a great example of kind of what I was saying. I was thinking that she was actually going to pull up the stencil, put down the layer of paint, then take something like tissue, pull up the paint in between, and then it leaves back the lines on the plate. Or certain paints. So this is where you like get to know your paints. We cannot express that enough. Get to know your paints. Dry time. What and what do those paints do where you live? Because that is a factor. Is it,
yes.
You know, do you live in a dry climate? Do you live in a humid climate? Things are going to dry differently. Do you run your AC? Are you next to a window? Are you running a fan? All of those things will factor into your dry time and understanding your paint.
You cannot believe how much that is. I'm going to see if I can pull this.
Yeah.
And I can't. Sometimes if your layer below was it had many layers, you probably need to let it dry completely. But look at that.
But this is where I was thinking that she was actually just going to put the lines over it.
Which then it would have looked like this.
Yeah, with the gray behind it.
Yeah.
So there are two ways to achieve lines, basically. You can do that flop off if you have enough paint on your stencil and you could move it, and get it over there and roll it out, or, you know, press it. Because again, if you use paper, then you won't get those brayer.
What I'm going to do, Mariah, I'm going to do just what you just said so I can show them. Because what she's talking about is she's talking about putting, and I'm going to use this stencil because I've already got paint on both sides, but I can still tell you just by looking at it and feeling it, this is the back side.
This is a Rhonda Donna stencil. I can't remember. It's Ferns something, I think.
I really love this one. I use this one, the big one, all the time. All right, so we've been using really and this is, you know, I'm not going to do that because that would be mean. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love this color. See my swatch down here?
And this is a heavy body. See, it says so.
It actually says heavy body.
Fern Fronds by Rhonda. Thank you, Mo.
And yeah, I have pliers ready here. Probably need to have those because after you've used them a couple of times, they have a tendency to stick because there's paint around the edge. Yeah,
and even though it's fairly humid here in Dallas, we run the AC so it dries out the house for the most part.
It does. Okay, so Now I'm turning this around because I like this gray that I've got going on here.
I was seeing Devin says she struggles with getting a flop off because like where she's at, it's really dry. So like it's hard to get those flop offs. So she really has to do this type of technique in order to get the lines onto her print.
Yes. Give that a little buzz there.
All right. Tissue. This is again where the tissue comes into play.
Well, I wasn't going to use tissue, but the minute you said that, I'm going to do it.
You do need to use tissue.
I need to use the tissue.
And one of the things to keep in mind is also understanding your stencil. This one has pretty open areas, orifices, as we like to say. And so she could probably get away with utilizing the 32-pound hammer mill to pull out the paint. The tissue is going to do a better job. And especially if you do what P just did with
and I'm going to,
paper towel.
I did try to get off the excess there, but now I'm coming back with my little round end and I'm really working it down in there because I noticed that it was not getting that paint out. And part of the problem is, guess what? My paint is too dry. I still got some stuff coming off there.
And some things came off your plate.
And some things definitely came off my plate. But now we've got this. And isn't this
That's lovely.
Lovely? I'm hoping, you know what? I just know it's dry.
It's already dry. And you get lines like this because this is a transparent paint. If you want lines, go with an opaque paint. Those, you won't see through it as much. That's how you keep them. You know, it's just understanding what paint you're using and why, and what's the next phase.
I'm
what's
touching
the layer.
this. It's already dry.
We also have the AC pointing at her nowadays, so she's had to adjust her timing a little.
Mariah's freezing me out because I froze her out for a long time, and I made her run the air conditioner. So now that
we changed the vent.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, you know, I can
burnt.
wear a scarf and feel real comfortable over here.
It's perfect.
My hat.
And I'm happy.
And I'm happy. All right. So now we have a dry print down. This is the ideal time to bring in our fluid acrylics. And we could use something in the same.
Oh, and Eddie, that is a fantastic point. Yes. Blue paints dry quick. We have,
and those indanthrines. Oh my goodness. I swear to God, they're dry. And
as
this
do metallics.
anthraquinone blue, they absolutely, I'm going to use this one.
Thank you, Eddie. Y'all are, seriously, thank you for all the help.
Now this is really dark. I changed my mind.
Yeah,
I'm not going to use that.
It's going to obliterate things.
It's going to obliterate things. I'm going to use my old favorite here, quinacridone nickel azo gold or transparent red iron oxide. I can't live without these colors. And this is going to brown out my leaves. I'll just tell you right now, so you're not all...
Michelle, we don't know exactly, but I mean, it has to do with the pigments that are in the blue. Like,
yes, I guess. I don't know. I don't know that I... Okay, you can see what's happening here. These are creating little droplets. Whereas I had to squeeze out that heavy body, and it was, you know, very gooey and
it's thick.
Thick. When I'm doing this, I try to get it on my brayer before I make a big rush across there, just in case my paint's not completely dry, which it probably isn't.
Oh yes, because what she means by that is if you just took your brayer straight, like if it's still sort of sticky with the paint from before, and you go directly to the design that is dry or drying on the plate, it's going to lift it right up.
It's going to lift it, or it's just going to smear it.
You want to, yeah, I mean, if it's not dry, it's going to smear it.
Yeah.
If it's dry-ish, it's going to pull it up.
All right, so now because we have this on this lovely plexiglass plate, we can flip it over and see what we get.
I love that. That's a showy offy print right there.
That's a showy offy print. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of that.
It's her happy colors. She knew what was going to happen.
I knew what was going to happen. I don't always know what's going to happen, but I do sometimes.
Yeah.
And look at that. See the little bits of the gray in there?
I love that.
Isn't that wonderful? This is a wonderful clean your plate.
Those fluid acrylics will do that. They're
They're
very
nice
sticky.
and sticky. And look at our plate. I have very little. I might have a little blue there and hither and yon, but most of it came up marvelously.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Oh, look at that. Okay. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished so far and how I have been sticking to
You've got 35 minutes.
I can do it. I'm on page 8.
Wonderful. Oh, Bartender's Daughter asked earlier, please talk a bit more about care and fading of the stencils.
Oh, I don't. The only time I do clean them is when I'm using texture paste.
Yeah.
Or the butter. What do you,
Yeah, stencil butter.
Stencil butter.
Stencil butter, texture paste, anything that is thick, like above and beyond, you know.
Yeah, and let me.
Heavy body paints. If it's gonna build up, like if it's meant to build texture or surface.
And here, this is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably make sure that I'm cleaning this rather regularly. And the reason is because there's so many little areas out there that are going to collect that paint, and you are going to be angry after a while because it's not going to, it will not.
And here's the thing. If you do want to keep your stencils in their, you know, most... Here's some of the, it's going to build up. There are pigments that are going to adhere to any surface. That's why your gel plate colors over time. A certain amount of that is going to stay back onto those materials or tools.
I have stencils that weigh about 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Now this one's getting there.
I
See all these colors around the edge?
5 pounds, but they do wet. Like they have weight.
They have weight.
Uh-huh.
I use this stencil.
But if you really do want to keep them clean, keep a little bath water or if you have a cap box of, you know, those things you get from the hospital or just, you know, like the kitchen, you know, like dishwashing little tub thing, whatever's large enough to hold your stencil and a little bit of water. Throw your stencil in there as you're using them. That way the paint does not dry up on them. And then take that. There are filtration systems too. Like if you want, like Golden has a whole system where you can dump that water and then it cleans it and does that sort of thing. Like if you're really into that, some people just put coffee filters like over the trash or over the sink or things like that. There are just multiple ways you can catch that, you know, dirty water, but you can soak that stuff off.
Okay, I think I've covered everything there. We're on page 9.
Thank you, Eddie.
Mixing paint colors directly on your plate is an option. Well, let's just do that.
And I did mention that a little bit when you were talking about the color, and that's how you get interesting color. See, I've been listening over the years, and she's very proud.
I know you have, and I'm just so dead proud of you, Mariah. I can't tell you how very proud of you I am. All right, so we've got our print here.
Hello, Carol.
We've got a really wonderful Brayer off, which I like it is, so I'm going to get a new piece of paper here.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. Sophia, that's the thing.
And let's see. Let's go back to our color wheel here. Where's my other color wheel that I have here? I don't have to find it in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's look at our color wheel here. We want to mix some colors, and we need to decide right away. Do we want colors? What do we want? Do we have a green and we'd like it to be a little more yellow green?
No.
No problem. Do we have a green and we'd like it to be more of a blue green? No problem. Maybe that green is just absolutely too bright, and we can add a tiny bit of red to it to tone it down a little bit, make it a little bit more olive. Do you see what I'm doing here? All of these things, if you learn your color wheel, this is going to come to you automatically. What are you laughing about?
Oh, because so they keyed in on the fact, I think, that I said, like the cat litter thing, or the, the thing that you get from the hospital to, like,
Oh, yes. And
or the
when
kitchen.
your stencil gets nice and grungy, it's time to turn it into a wonderful piece of ephemera and purchase a replacement for PR Studio. We did not pay her to say that.
No.
But I will send you something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I already have something for you. Like, I have a little, 'cause I have
Remember-
that print that is for her.
Oh, yes. Here's the thing. Once your stencils do build up like that, it's a prime opportunity to use them in your journals. Use them in a way that it's adding another whole dimension to it. Like, remember the stars that I used in Doors?
Yes.
Celestial?
Yes.
I mean, that was absolutely. And this one back over yonder that I just showed you, it's almost
So it's
there.
not like, I hope that most people, and I think that that's true, that especially with those of you that we know, have similar beliefs in how, the stencils are a tool for this period of time, and then it becomes addibles or ephemera or whatever for the, book, the thing that you're building, because it really is so cool. The weight of it and the feel of it is just really nifty. And it has had many lives, and that is added value to it. I
Yes.
know that sounds a little salesy and whatever, or to justify the purchase of, because I know that, we are not the cheapest stencils out there. I understand that, but we think about it as the quality, the longevity, and just what all goes into it and what can come out of it. I feel that it has that value, and
It really
certainly does for us.
And I can show you one of the things that you can do. And this is what I did with my
Okay, Lynn.
this is what I did. Oh, look at this. I've got some wonderful fish here.
And then remember, we do have, like, I
You
know
can
that,
cover.
yeah, well, and I hate to kind of just toss it in here, but I know we have quite a few people that are our regular shoppers and whatnot. But remember to utilize your points. And those of you that don't know, you can build points over on the website, and that can add up to some pretty significant discounts here and there. So
If
keep
you're
that in mind.
making a pocket, it's
I
wonderful
love that. I love
to
that.
back that print, because then when you put it down as your pocket, it's going to have a little extra bling bling to it,
Bling bling.
or it just makes it. And with my pockets, I did kind of a curved type edge on them, and I just think it looks absolutely marvelous. I really honestly do. And anyway, yeah.
Ooh, Carol says another cool thing that happens with grungy stencils is that if you use medium and let the paint reactivate, you will, and that's one thing about the fluid acrylics, because there's something in there that, that whole stickiness, and just because they are fluid, it activates old paint on the stencil more. And that's also sort of the cool thing that happens during the long hauls, and why when you're switching between heavy body and fluids, you can get that more of it out of there and get that buildup and then the release after time.
All right, I'm going to use, after I mix on here, I'm going to use this stencil because you'll be able to see the paint more better than, this is kind of dense, and I think it would obfuscate the whole idea of mixing your paint on your. Now you can mix both heavy bodies, fluid, and soft bodies. It doesn't matter. You can mix them all here on the plate. But let me just tell you one little thing about it. If you go ahead and you're going to add a retarder to make your paint stay wet longer, you need to put your paint down and put a tiny little bit of retarder on top of it.
Of the paint.
You put your retarder down, it's going to leave a hole.
We don't really understand
And I don't
who's
understand.
it, what's it about that, but it does. It happens.
Doesn't matter how much you mix it, that hole is going to stay there. All right,
It's a resist.
let's make a green.
Hey, an interest, maybe, something to kind of test out, experiment, but maybe like if you put a coat of the retarder on one of the stencils, then laid it down, then you're going to get some kind of resist that happens. Might be interesting.
It might be interesting. All right, so we need a yellow here. Turn this around here and find.
Does the medium have to be rinsed off the stencil? Well, the medium is a lot like paint, so it's just going to kind of build up there. Or it is like, because it's a mixative. It has those base qualities of a paint, just lacking pigment. But it is interesting how it does leave that little, it will resist.
Now, we're going to just play with this just a little bit. Okay, this is really a really kind of a
She
nice.
loves this green.
Isn't that a nice green? I like that.
You like that green.
I like that green. Let's just go with it. And one of the things about, I think, mixing this is that instead of using it straight out of the tube, it's because it's just so much more interesting.
Yeah.
I think.
Again, it's really falls in that paint category versus like a texture paste that has stuff that really builds up and quickly will fill up your stencil areas.
And the other thing is when you're not using your brayer, don't leave it down like this because it's going to get stuck. And I have a line on here. See that?
Hey, Linda.
That's
no
because
worries.
I didn't follow my own advice. If you keep it over on its backside.
Eddie likes the mixture of the green and the yellow. The yellow that was on the stencil with the green.
Oh. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful?
Wonderful.
Now we're not done.
Now she has lines. This is what I was talking about earlier.
Now I have lines. And we will get those lines off there. Hopefully I can do it. Because that was a little more, if I had been using my fluid acrylic, that probably wouldn't have been at all possible.
Right.
I don't know how much we're going to pull off of there.
Some other things to keep in mind regarding this type of technique. If you are going paint to paint, it is harder. You're going to need to, again, understand how dry is your paint already. Because paint to paint is harder. The paper grips.
Yeah. Now, all right. So what we can do now is we can look at our color wheel here. Okay. So we've got a green here, and it's kind of a yellow green, right? So what can we put over it? Well, if we put anything in the orange, red, or violet, it's going to
brown out,
neutralize.
Which I think
if we stay over here, we're going to either amp up the green.
Okay, are we going happy slappy or grunge it out? There's kind of your happy slappy grunge.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat.
Yeah, this is how you make these decisions. You use the color wheel. It will guide you.
Yeah, it's well said, Darcy. Paper is porous, paint is not.
Exactly.
That's the gripping factor.
It's going to react, and if you're pulling this off with the line print here, you're much more likely to have that happen if you have a white new piece of paper rather than putting it onto a paper that's already painted.
Look, I love it. Darcy says grunge. Eddie says happy slappy.
All right. Well,
who's our tiebreaker?
Okay, here. Let's do this.
Oh, you're going to go half and half.
I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show off. Looky here at my. All right, so I have to show you this first because this really is segueing right into what we're going to do next, which is another way to mix a gel plate is to ombre, and I just noticed that it doesn't have an H in it.
What?
Ombre. It's not a
no,
ombre.
It's ombre. Yeah,
it's an not an H.
Yeah,
so
I'll fix that.
Would you fix that, please? Okay.
That's what I'm going to
Another way to say it is color gradient.
Yes.
For this to be successful, a larger brayer will be needed. But it really doesn't on this one because it's almost exactly the same size as my plate.
It's really
it's an inch.
Plate to brayer ratio. You need the brayer to cover.
And see, it's not going to quite do it.
But it's enough.
I think I can make it work.
It's enough.
It's enough. I can
You
make
do
it work.
not, the reason that you don't want to do that, if you want to do it in a couple swipes, because that's really what needs to happen, is that you don't want a ton of brayer movement because you're going to be mixing your colors then.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep them blocked out, but only mixing there in those key sections.
Okay. So usually I will use this method here. I don't know that I really need to, but this works for me and keeps the colors separate much easier than if I just line them up.
I agree with that. I
don't even really know why.
I'm sure there's some science behind it.
I am sure that there is. I don't know what it is. Okay, so we've got 2 prints that we can use here. And we'll just make a decision once we get our paint down and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Turn this around so get everything organized here. What did we decide on our paint color? We are going to grunge it.
And Happy Slappy.
And Happy Slappy.
And Devin calls this Happy Grunge.
Happy Grunge. Okay, so we've got our turquoise.
Or vibrant grunge.
Our turquoise, which is in the blue range right here. And then we've got orange. So we're going to use turquoise.
I love it. Do it.
Turquoise, blue, and orange. And let me see. I've got the... Oh, I know. I'm going to drag out my vermilion. You know, I love a vermilion. Okay. These 2 colors are absolutely yummy together.
I love that. I really do.
And then where they meet in the middle, they're going to brown out ever so slightly. This is just so exciting. Okay. I mean, I'm just...
I know.
Okay.
This is good stuff.
I'm not excited for me. I'm excited for you because I think that this is just absolutely, when you first figure this out, I mean, I was just, I can't describe my elation.
Yes.
But I did have it. So, okay. So we're going to put that one down there. We're going to put this one down on this end. Now I lied to you. I'm going to use my big brayer.
Oh, now Joan makes a good point. So if the blue dries faster, it will be fun to see what happens.
Oh, well, I don't know. The turquoise is a different animal.
Well, was this the one that you used earlier?
Yes, it is.
So,
okay, I'm bringing out, this is my mini Big Bertha. I have one that's really big, but I want to do this because I want you to see, you must go over the edges. You can't go back and forth, up and down.
No.
You have to do it like that. And you need to move rather rapidly. I don't know if I matched it up, but
it's going to be good enough.
I think for an exemplar, I think that you will be able to see what is happening here.
Well done.
So look at that nice darkish gray going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see when I turn it, can you see how the paint is shimmering where the lines are from the green? I could have matched that up a little bit better, but I think that you can see how that is possible to do. Oh, and I just left that down there. There's my brayer. This is I'm guessing a 6-inch. What?
Christy says sometimes she gets inspiration at work when she's counting the pills in the pharmacy because some of the colors are so pretty. All the pills I take are boring white. Well, you need to find, I guess, a better...
Okay.
I don't know.
This is a 6-inch brayer. And, you know, really honestly...
It's a good size.
It's a good size. So if you wanted to buy a 6-inch instead of a 4-inch, because it has more...
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Now, I do have a big one that goes... it's a 8-incher, I think. And it's a little bit different consistency. It's a little harder, but it still works just fine for what I want to do. All right. Now what? the colors you choose will overlap. And know that complementary colors are going to create a neutral color where they overlap. We just
Hey,
made that.
This could be a really fun way to engage with the color wheel. Start out with your primaries. Start with the 2 colors.
Make your secondaries.
Do 3 colors. And, see how it starts to ombre. Then you're going to have, I think, a true understanding of what colors you have and the colors they are going to make and how that applies to the color wheel.
And maybe even use a slightly larger piece of paper so you could take some notes on the color.
She has notes.
Oh, I do. I have pages.
I mean, a lot of times that's for the stream, but it has helped.
It has helped.
And it's funny when we come back to some of them and we find them, we laugh about it because we're like, oh God, I'm glad you wrote notes on that because we didn't know what the heck was happening.
Okay, this is page 10. Paint continued. If the paint seems to be drying too rapidly, something to consider adding is a product called retarder.
And you just showed that.
And I just showed that a few minutes ago.
That's how to make your paint more open.
Keep your paint more open. We're going to leave that out right there. Okay. It has various names depending on the brand.
Yes. Some are, what is it? Slow dryer, dry.
Yeah. Okay. Which, when mixed with paint, will make the paint stay wet longer, slowing the drying time. U.S. Art Supply makes an affordable version. Now, that being said, Golden Paints provide a selection of paints they refer to as open. And they stay
open.
They stay wet for a very long time.
Now, those of you that are in really dry climates and you're like, oh my God, I'm just so frustrated because my paint just dries too quick. Opens might be the answer for you because it's going to, or
learn how to mix this.
Yeah, if you already have a bunch of paints, get that, mix it in. It does alter the paint slightly.
It does.
Please keep that in mind.
And I will show you.
What I mean by that is it like the luster, the sheen of it is different once you add that.
Yes, that surface texture. Yeah, it definitely is. Good point, Mariah. Good point. I don't know that I have that written down here.
Christy, I don't know.
Okay, the open paints, okay, they are a blessing and a curse. Great for flop-offs, where you flop it over. Placing the stencil on a piece of paper. Rub-offs. Oh, I haven't showed you rub-offs. Oh, we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do that, and we'll do that.
She does that a lot. It's with the baby wipe, and you just clean your stencil and rub it off.
Yeah, I will do that on my really beautiful piece of what here?
Brayer.
And let's go ahead and use Nickel Azo Gold.
Wonderful.
Love it.
Love it.
Okay, so we're not adding retarder because this is already open. But if we didn't have the open paint, I would add a little bit of retarder to it and make sure that the retarder is on the top of the paint rather than under.
Yes.
It's important. And
That's why we've said it multiple
you'll be able
times.
to figure that out.
Because you'll be like, why is there this weird spot? Like, it took us a while to work that out.
And finally we're going, oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, how absolutely dense can you be? Okay, here we go.
And yes, Christy, I don't know if you're being funny or whatever, but yes, I am going to type up all of her notes, put it in a ebook. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take screenshots. It's going to be a while. Like, this will take me a while, but that's why I'm going to charge a little bit of money for it, but it will be available in our shop.
Alrighty, so we've got, and I'm totally relaxed here. I can just let that sucker sit there for a long, long time.
Because it's open.
Yeah. And this is why, if you're a little slow on making decisions and whatnot, then this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
All right, I can take this, and I want to do this on this side. And remember, I'm doing paint to sort of paint. I mean, there's still paper available out there. Pushing hard, maybe come back with my rounded knobby end and give it a bit of a swirly do. Cool that
Well, we had
looks.
said it a couple times.
Look how cool that looks. All right, I'm really liking that. Where's my other?
Thank you, Brenda. I've been trying to spice things up, but not, make it too crazy.
All right, now we're going to put this back down.
I love that.
See if we can get
Don't mess that
a
up.
flop off. I'm going to try to get it off a little bit. Offset
Right.
it a little bit. All right, now we've got out here, we've got a ghost print, and I probably could have gotten a lot more
Yeah,
off of that, but I'm liking that. Okay, here we go.
it's subtle.
Here we go. I'm going to put this down so I can get this where I want it.
I don't want it there, but
Where
if
did you
do,
want it?
I want it over the grungy. So yeah, do a little half and half.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
just,
Or let's turn it like this.
Oh yes, fantastic.
Because then we can experiment on this end also.
Yes.
Give it a flip over. Give it a bit of a burnishing.
And Moses Knobby Roundy Baron is made by our friend Anthony Cody. Yes, if you guys want a Baron, this is.
Yeah.
He gifted this one to P.
He did.
I told her that it was kind of,
She wanted to put it into
a giveaway.
the giveaway, but I just could not part with it because I love it so much. Now, what you might say when you send this to Anthony, or when you send your specific instructions, tell him that because a lot of times he will inlay stuff and he wants the texture of the stuff to be part of its appeal. Tell him that you want your knobby smooth. And
it's important to know how smooth you want your.
If you want a smooth knobby or if you want a bumpy knobby.
How about that, Eddie?
Yeah. Oh, isn't that wonderful? All
Hi,
right.
Sean.
Now what we're going to do, we're going to try, I'm just so excited about this. We're going to come back with our vermilion because we have a little bit of it over here. And I need an open. I need an open, Mariah.
Oh, Lynn, you're so sweet. She says if she were to win the lottery today, the first thing she would do is order all the stamps and stencils from PM Artist Studio. That's so sweet.
Oh.
That made her emotional.
All right, get a new piece. Always replace your paper.
Yes.
Always replace your paper.
Or as Becky has recommended, if you have space for like a little clipboard thing, clip it there, have multiple sheets underneath there so that way you can just keep, pulling it and throwing it off to the side and, deal with that later.
All right. So we're going to go with, I love this color. I love this color so much. I use it up in the fluid acrylic. I run out of this one. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I didn't tell you, Mariah, because I think I've got one hanging around somewhere.
Let me look in the drawer.
fluid acrylic.
I've got this drawer should always be looked in before making any order. I just want
All
you to
right,
know
I'm
that.
using lots of paint because I want to get a lot of mileage out of this because it's open. So I know it's going to stay moist and nice for a long time.
I don't have it over here.
Oh well,
But
I'll have to look in my.
I'm telling you, there are paints over here. Kind of ridiculous,
Ridiculous?
I think.
Okay, I'm going to use this stencil just because I haven't. Yeah.
And we are going to run this stream as long as we need to because I want this all of this information to be here available. So that way, it matches up to the book. So thank you to those of you that are hanging in here with us.
Yes.
And
Oh,
those
are
that-
we already? Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
we
we're
are
coming
running
up.
out of time. I am almost at the end. I'm on page 10. I have 2 pages to go. I don't really know what they say. All right, I'm
just
going-
wrote it yesterday.
All right, I'm not really liking that very much. That's not showing up.
I like it. I thought that was nice. Now you can do a flop off.
I can do a flop off, and that's going to be more interesting.
Yes.
So I'm going to put that down over here, and I'm going to give that a bit of a brayer off.
And that was also an open paint, right?
It was, but
Okay.
it's just not I don't know. I didn't put it on thick enough, Mariah. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over here because I got some ideas here.
Yes, Anthony will need your palm measurements. How I ended up doing it is I actually I outlined P's hand and then even had her like do this and drew inside of there. And then just, for, added value, we had like a little bowl, like, one of those snap lid bowl things. And then she said, okay, yeah, like that for the outer part.
Yes, because he will make the outer part to your dimensions also, and I should show you my other.
Her one that this is the one that's really like to her.
You can
kind of grody.
It is, but it's and I should clean it because it's terrible. It's a beautiful.
He sends you tongue oil and everything,
Yes, he does. But I use this so much, and I like for my larger plates this wider base. You can see the difference, and you can just tell him which one you prefer. If you don't have a lot of room, this little jobber works just fine. But the big thing is to tell him about the knobby business.
Now, this is a very good tip. Thank you, Acme. Acme says, beware if you wear glasses that have the blue blocker in them, that will affect your color mixing.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Oh, holy cow,
if you are over the age of 40.
Okay. All right. I have to move that aside because I'm going to do the other thing that I talk about doing, because this stencil, even though it didn't flop off very well, it still has lots of stuff on it. This one over here still has stuff on it that I can get off. But I'm going to use this one because I like having them side by side. Okay, so you sort of have to hold it. This is a wet wipe.
And this is a rub off.
And this is called a rub off.
Certain paints do better. Certain states of your stencil do better.
Yes. If you have lots of pointy bits on your stencil, this technique is not really, I mean, it will frustrate you because they just keep catching on your.
Oh, and thank you.
But now the other thing that you can do with this, which I haven't done, but I'm going to do right now, is you can do what is called it's the opposite. You're going to be taking off paint.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This may be too dry.
Oh, well, it kind of did a little something there.
Yeah. Remove paint.
Yeah.
Using your stencil rather than. But look at that. It's just a little bit more soft and kind of squishy.
Yeah. Those mellow edges.
Mellow. Okay. Now, where's our color wheel? I buried it. Here it is. Hiding out behind the stencil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, remember the intermediate colors
little
here?
Pies, little pieces of pie.
So really what I want is I'm going to go over these with a violet. And I have to make sure that I'm on track here. Okay, open retarder, blah, 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 blah. All right, so now I'm turning the page. We're on page 11. Woo! Continue. Open paint with retarder will allow for more ghost prints. Ghost prints are what's left on the gel plate after pulling the initial print.
Hi, Jenny.
The slower drying paint affords more opportunity, time, to pull multiple prints from the one application of paint, as you just saw me do. As the prints pile up, and they will, something will be needed to store them. So I have plastic bins. I also have folders Let me grab one of my bins over here. And actually, these we didn't purchase. These were from Mariah. Didn't you get paper or labels?
The labels come. So when we ship out your orders, they come in a 2-up label. These are the labels that I order.
Yeah. 250 sheets. These are labeled. Okay. So I have
They come in these things, these containers.
I have them labeled wall prints. And actually, they're really, there's a whole lot of other stuff in here. But this is a great way to store them. You can do them by color. You can do them by style. You know, just whatever tickles your fancy. Look at that.
Yeah.
Still a little bit left on there.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Okay, so storing your gel prints can be as easy. Mine are over here on a shelf that Mariah built.
Storing your gel plates.
Like storing them when they're not in use. That's why you have plexiglass on every single one. Don't just buy one thing of plexiglass and think you're going to get your gel prints on all that same one. Don't do that, because you're having to pull it up and put it down.
And this is kind of a nice, like, to bring it around to, like, some of that first bit of information when we're just kind of talking about the things that you want to have in order to gel print. Storage is going to be one of those, it's going on your personal preference, and also what is going to be your, what am I trying to say? Are you a daily gel printer? That she prints every day something. She has things going at all times. Are you interested in layering up your prints? If you are that invested in the gel printing process, you are going to eventually want to have multiple plates, multiple plexiglass. You are going to want a shelving system of some sort to be able to, a racking thing that makes sense to organize them, because taking them in and out of the containers, that is not conducive to layering up and a daily type of gel printing process. If you're getting yours out to make painty papers, that's perfect. That is no problem. Easy peasy. Get yourself one of those metal or plastic containers. You will just have it out. You will have your gel printing session. You need one plate. You are good to go. Make painty papers and then clean it up and put it away.
Okay, somebody mentioned these things. These are great too.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what's in this one, but I'm not going to get off on that. But I like these things. Mm-hmm. You can see through them. They have a little zipper thing here that you can hang identification tags on.
We gave these out as, and we might do that again with the big old giveaway type thing. A lot of that's going to be boxes because we're going to be sending out paint.
Yes.
But I think we're going to go through a lot of our collected project things and sort them out a lot like we did last time. So they'll probably go into those zipper packs like that, because we like to give out things that you guys, you know, that we use and you like to use. Michelle asks, can you put plate with plexiglass on top of each other? You can, but probably not a great idea, because what you're going to do is you're more likely then to create a bubble,
or you're embedding something that's on the back.
Because the paint's going to build up again, like, you know, anything that the paint has access to, it is going to adhere to. There'll be a transfer back and forth, which it could create that pitting situation.
And what Mariah can do is she can photograph this again and stick this storage system into.
Yeah, it's in Makers, but I will link to that. And then if Mo wants to drop in, storage ideas can be found in the Amazon store. Here's the Amazon storefront link. That link is one of our affiliate links, but it has all of the zip ties, the wire racking, and all of that we have found. And then I think I want to say it was April.
I can't remember who
I'm
was
pretty
the first
sure it
one.
was, because she had talked about this. And then one of my things with the one that she had, because she had smaller plates and things, because what's great about these is that they will accommodate the larger, well, up to like the 12 by 12.
Yeah.
If you got those real big plates, I don't know. I haven't met a wire rack.
That's one of the reasons. Well, I don't have enough real estate here.
Yeah. If we ever get a building or something, maybe.
Yes.
And we plan for that ahead of time, and, you know, block out areas and put down yellow tape that says, do not put anything here.
I really, you know, appreciate Mariah because she's remembering things that I don't remember.
Okay, a great tool to have, and I really want to say that this is even in the shop, in the Amazon. These window scraper, you know, like to peel off your tags, you know, that they put up in the window, with the razor blade. Great tool. You should have one of these just because it is a fantastic tool for all sorts of things.
Yes, and that's what I scrape my paint off. When these get so bad that I just, they're driving me crazy, I do that.
Yeah.
But I don't do that very often. All right, wrapping up. I'm going to save these because I'm going to go over these. I'm going to look at my color wheel. I'm thinking violet is the way to go with another layer on top of these, simply because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking,
yes,
okay, yellow, green, so I could red, violet.
Yeah,
is what I'm looking at there for the complementary color here on the color wheel. In closing, gel printing is whatever you want it to be. The possibilities are boundless. Enjoy the journey, embrace the process, and revel in the variety of results. Experiment, throw caution to the wind, return to your childhood, and get reacquainted with the joy of play. Remember, there is no such thing as an ugly print. It is waiting to be transformed into a swan. One more layer.
That's awesome. That was good. Now, Devin has a question. I found a big plexiglass that I need to cut down. If I put my 12x14 gel plate on it and leave it on with paper on top, do I need to put it inside a case, or can I just leave it out? I think you can just leave it out.
As long as your paper is going over, and I have that in my notes. Let me show
Mucho
you.
importante, because if you try to section up paper, like, so you have a bigger plate, but you don't have a piece of paper that's going to cover it to store it.
Yeah, let me get
You want to make sure you find a piece of paper that's going to cover it, because
Go
the
over
lines,
the edges ever
she
so
knows
slightly.
this because she had some plates that it took a while for those lines to come out.
All right, how does this open up? Here we go. All right, here's my.
Bye, Eddie. Thanks for hanging.
Now, can you see this? I conditioned this before I stored it away, and I definitely would recommend that. If you're putting your plates up and storing them, I don't use this round plate very often, but when I do, it's specifically something that I want. So, I have it on a piece of plexiglass, and I can see some little bitty marks out there. Can you see them?
No, you know what that's on? That's on the tin.
Ah.
Pick up your...
No, it isn't.
Oh, it isn't.
But it could be on the back of
the plexiglass.
The plexiglass.
Is it? Or is it on your plate?
I don't know. Well, anyhow.
Bad plate, mama.
Bad storage here. Okay, so that happens. If you can see that, and I am looking at that, those little divots there, you might think, oh, those are really not all that earth-shatteringly important.
They get bigger.
It may be. And they're just not wanting to come off. So, I don't mind doing this, and this is, get a little bit of your
mineral oil
out there. Swish it around.
You can pick that up at the pharmacy, too. You can get it super cheap in different places.
Yeah. All right. See, that is finally coming off.
Mm-hmm. And apple that, a lot of people like the texture that comes off of their plate. Just, it's going to be one of those things, though, like, if you want specific prints, that you're probably not going to get.
And I'm nitpicking, because those are probably not going to be that earth-shatteringly important. And I've got a piece of oiled paper down here.
There you go.
And then when I shut it up, it's not going to matter if it gets flipped over. The paper's still going to be on the side. It's not going to be sticking to the metal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The metal side. And you could, the nice thing about these is you can just pile those up on the shelf as thick as you want to.
Yeah.
If you're using those original clamshell things, they dip down. You
Well, and they
can't put
crack.
them on.
That was the other problem that we had. Because
Yes.
the weight up, because she was stacking multiple ones, and then the one on the bottom got cracked, and then it was pushing into the plate. So,
Yeah. And fortunately, I got to it soon enough that it wasn't like a permanent problem.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
it will be.
Yeah, we don't have links to the tins. I got sick of trying to chase those links down because they'll be in stock and not in stock, and it just drives me crazy. So.
Here, let me just okay, I've got this one. I can put it like this.
These particular ones are by Rangers. You can find them from different vendors. I just was tired of messing with it because
They're from Ranger Rick, but it's through Dilutions, which is Dina Dinah Wakely. And it is an 11.6 by 10.2.
And I think they have some other
half an inch.
I think they have other sizes too, but
They do have smaller sizes. I recommend getting the big sizes and put smaller
multiple
plates
ones
together.
in there. Yeah, it's a better use of space.
It's a better use of space, and they stack on top of each other. You get a whole bunch of little old tins, and you're like, what a pain in the butt.
Yeah, unless you're traveling.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, guys.
That's true.
I think that is the wrap up of the beginner's guide. And even for seasoned gel printers, because I know we forget about these things. We always are like, oh, yeah, we need to talk about that. We haven't talked about that in a while. Yeah. So it's always nice to be refreshed. Or this is a lot of information. Hope you all come back, watch the replay a couple times, and give us some, thumbsy upsies and all that good
And watch
business.
time.
Yeah. Watch time. Someday.
And I want you to look at these, because the next time you see them,
they'll be different.
they'll be different.
And they may be in a packet coming to you.
Exactly.
All right, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow because it is Mariah Makes Monday, and I will be doing card number 15 because I already did 14. If you missed that, that was last night. So did she.
I may go ahead and just do my 14 without camera.
Oh, 14 without camera. That's fine.
Because then
And I'll
I can do
photograph it and
15
stuff.
with you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah. That sounds good. That's probably a better plan.
Because I know I won't be able to get 2 done.
Because the July postcard play is still in play.
In play.
We're like coming up on halfway-ish.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
All right, guys.
And Maya,
We'll see you
I
tomorrow.
hope it met your expectations.
All right. Bye.